Hi, it's time for another video. Now, you followers of my channel, you'll notice that I've been busily trying to upload videos related to 2024 new releases. Well, I've run out of time, and I got up to my May, and I've got one for June to go up, but that'll happen after this one. Uh, as we are now into January 2025, this is my top 20 albums for 2024. Now, the nature of the beast is that there are going to be a few that I've already mentioned between January and June earlier in the year. So it will be brief, but I wanted to get this out because most people have done this. And I put a lot of work in to looking at music this last year now, and here is my top 20. I'm going to start off though with some honourable mentions. Okay, here are my honourable mentions, quite a few really, because the quality of music I found in 2024 was excellent, and I've actually downloaded over 150 albums. Yeah, so we're looking at 30 really, about 10 honourable mentions. Let's go through them. Well, there was top two albums released by the soul funk genius Childish Gambino this year. He firstly released Atta Vista, and then he went on to release a second a few months later called Bando Stone and the New World. They're both excellent albums if you're into soul, hip hop, R&B, that type of animal. Extremely talented man, and I'm sure I'll leave a link to those albums on YouTube. And for Rumble viewers, I'm going to do a track from each. Next up was an album by Travis called LA Times. Now, Travis, I first looked at back in the early 90s, and I haven't followed them to be honest, but this one caught my eye, and very polished it is as well. They've got a sort of folk rock feel to them, but I really enjoyed this album. Follow that with Gravity Stairs by the New Zealand based band Crowded House. This is their first in a few years, and it's very, very typical of their sort of soft indie style rock with a little bit of sort of influence with synths and the like, but very tasty from Neil Finn and the boys. It's got two sons on this one. Next up is Faye Webster, Undressed at the Symphony. I've started to get into Faye a few years ago. Very nice vocals. Again, it's sort of in that sort of ballady rock indie style. Let's move on. Leon Bridges, another guy that I've become very happy to see his releases. I've got all his albums, and he released a new one called Leon. And of course, Leon Bridges, he's very much retro soul, and he doesn't take this album much further, to be honest. But I just love his voice, and of course, the production is 5-star. Then the second album by Muda Mokhtar called Funeral for Justice, the second that I've got anyway. This amazing guitar player from Niger or Niger, with his particular brand of African funk rock, is definitely somebody you need to keep in touch with. Moving on, we've got the the name of the album, by the way, is Funeral for Justice. Forgot the name of the album. Right. And then we've got an album by Ibibo Sound Machine. This is a London based Afro funk band. The lead singer, Lima Williams, I think is her name, is basically the creator of this pack. Great rhythmic Afro style music, and they did an album a couple of years ago, which I heard, Electricity, and that turned me on to them. And so, no doubt, as soon as I saw this, I was going to get hold of it. The album is titled Pull the Rope. And Bernard Butler, yes, that guy who was in Suede right at the beginning of their career, at the beginning of 1990. He played on two albums. Then he had a falling out with Brett Anderson. He then went solo. He did two solo albums. Then he went missing again, but ended up collaborating on a number of people's albums throughout the next 20 odd years. I actually caught him on an album by Ben Watt, Half of Everything But the Girl. But he's back now with his third album, 25 years on. It's called Good Grief, and it's very nice indeed. Right, continuing with these honourable mentions, I've still got a few to go. Neon Pill by Cage the Elephant, American indie, very tasty. Coco, album 2. I like this one as well. It's got a polished sort of vocal from the girls. Again, we're really in the sort of indie rock field, stroke pop. Vertigo by a band called Wand. That's a little bit more sort of post-punk with some more, how can I put it? Anyway, I can't think of the words. The Cleansing is the third album in 4 years by the ex Only Man One's lead singer, Pete Perry. He's certainly come back from the dead after his spate of heroin addiction, which went on forever. But he's now producing great music, and I think he's got his family in the band. Pete Perry on The Cleansing. And then what else have we got? The latest album by Shakira, which is called La Mujeres. And then the latest album by the all genre type band from Australia, King Gizzard and the Big Lizard. And then the last couple, is it the last couple? No, it isn't. We've got Romance by Fontaine DC, which I like. The latest Cure album, of course, which everybody's been raving about. I've only put it on in the headphones twice, so that's why it's not in my 20. But what a return by Robert Smith and the boys. Songs of a Lost World is the name of the album. There's also another band that have reappeared after a long hiatus, and that's Matt Clark. Is it Matt Clark? It's called The anyway, and it's called Ensoulment. And if you did catch the band The in the 90s, you'll know that they're rock music, but very, very creative. Not hard, lots of keyboards, a lot of inventiveness. And I think his name was Clark. Or maybe I'm getting him mixed up with the guy from Yazoo. Oh, that's Vince Clark. Anyway, his first name's Matt. And let's try and get this over with now. Nick Lowe, he released a new album. Not many new tracks, however. More a number of tracks that he's redone. The album's called Indoor Safari. And then we've got the latest David Gilmour album, Luck and Strange. I like it, but it's not like his old band, and I'm not going to mention them. And then the last one is a very, very sort of a nice R&B soul disco type pop album by a man called Aaron Fraser. And I was hearing old sort of Tamla stuff on this, which really pricked my ears up. Sounded like Smokey Robinson and the Miracles on one track. It's called Into the Blue. So those are the honourable mentions. I think I mentioned about 15 albums there. So I should have done a top 50, shouldn't I? Never mind.